Okay, let's make a start. Meeting of the Environment Committee. Taking the agenda items. Any apologies for absence?
Apologies received, Chair, from Councillor Weaver, who's being substituted by Councillor Cleary this evening.
Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. I'll start with that. I should declare an interest in item 6.3. Because my wife's got an allotment. Anybody else?
Yep, I've got to declare an interest in 6.3 because I'm the plot holder and communications officer in West Glasgow for South Harpenden Town Council Chamber.
Plot holder is probably sufficient.
Right.
Yes, I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest in item 6.3 as well as a plot holder, and I've also got a personal interest as trustee secretary of Youth Tarpon and Garden Club.
Thank you.
I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 6.3 as my father is a plot holder of shags.
No. So that leaves 3.
We will
So we are just...
We don't want to
just okay, fine. Move on. Chairman's report of urgent items. I have a storage depot update. Now, to recap on this, in March 2016, the committee agreed that the Heath Close allotment site, which consisted of 2 plots, could be redeveloped as a depot with provision of services and secure storage space for plants, vehicles, equipment and materials. In order for this redevelopment of the site to be met, £100,000 of earmarked reserves were allocated to this project. In June 2016, Heath Close allotment site ceased, with the 2 plot holders being relocated to other sites and the land became vacant. In October this year, officers met to discuss the requirements for the storage depot. From this meeting, a list of essential requirements was drawn up, which now forms a clear scope for the work. Officers are now in the process of drawing up a clear project plan for the storage depot, which will set out the next steps, and these will include establishing the need for an ecology survey on the site, speaking to nearby residents, reviewing any planning requirements, and engaging a contractor to deliver the building elements of the project. An update on the progress of the project will be given to this committee in January. That's all I had. Were there any other urgent items?
No.
Don't think so. So item 4, any public questions in accordance with Standing Order 64? None received. Okay. Let's move on to item 5, minutes. To confirm the minutes of the Environment Committee meeting held on the 21st of September 2016. These were all circulated well in advance of this meeting. Are there any points, or can I assign them as a true record?
Just one quick one on 22.1.5. It's the Oakley Road play area which is going to be transferred first. The wording 22.1.5 it says Oakley Road and Magna Close play areas. Members noted that the District Council will consider a request to transfer this site and with the action, etc. The site is actually the Oakley Road.
Okay, so also then transfer the Oakley Road.
That's right, yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Magna Close is actually officially now Palmer Close. We found that.
Yeah.
But sorry.
Okay, well, I think we'll leave that in my notes. Councillor Chichester Miles.
On the first page of the minutes, your name is missing an L at 19. Councillor Edith said nothing to us all.
Well spotted. Okay, any other points on the minutes? Thank you. Right. Next one, 5.1. Harpenden Town Council Party to receive the minutes of the meeting held on the 5th of September 2016, circulated herewith. Has anybody got any comments on those, or can we just receive them?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, they're fine, yeah. I thought it just...
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was waiting for comments on colour scheme.
Was that a...
That was just, I agree with the minutes, they're fine, yeah.
Preemptive, so
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we just received them,
Do
yeah.
we need to take a vote on that, or did we just note them?
No, just no.
We just note them.
Okay, so just note those? Okay, right. Yep. Right, now on to the officers' report. First one, 6.1, the action tracking. So on the first one, the path across the town greens, we seem to have an action plan in place to do that. I mean, the resin fit's been done, hasn't it?
On the concourse, yes.
Yes, saw that being done.
This is a new budget item which has been identified for discussion as part of the budget report.
Okay.
So the recommendation is it's removed until such time as...
Okay, and we'll cover it later in the budget. Okay, fine, thank you. Okay, item 2. I think there's nothing much to add to that. I think we're waiting for the relocation of the putting green.
Yes, the Common and Greens Officer and the Harpenden Middlesex Wildlife Trust have provided the golf course mitigation.
Okay, and that was the plan, wasn't it? Yes, they were. So in essence, they want, if you know the site where we've got, what's it? Not Cross Lane.
Cravels.
Road.
Cravels Road. If this is sort of the A1081 and this is Cravels Road, they really want to put the putting green somewhere here. Okay, which we kind of provisionally agreed, provided they do mitigation elsewhere on the golf course. So I think that seems quite reasonable. They think it's important to have a practice putting green, you know, for visitors and for members to practice putting, and this is kind of important to their membership and product, etc. So that's what's going on there. Next one, Lydecker Park, or Lydecker Park as it's known to some. Small community event. Sorry, no, not the next one. Friends of the Lydecker Park group, and an updated action plan, so that's underway. Nothing to add to the Lower Luton grassland trial. Extension of the East Common Orchard. We're looking at that also, aren't we? This is part of this using the bequest. Come to you in just a second. Using the bequest of this gentleman who...
Mr Addington.
Mr Addington, yes. Yes, Councillor Tisha.
It's just, obviously this is, I think, a good use of the Addington bequest.
Yep.
The only thing I would add, though, is whenever I read East Common Orchard, I get memories of the chainsaw massacre of 2008,
That chainsaw.
which was a blade which was laid at my door.
Yeah.
The whole... Beg your pardon, Councillor?
I was just agreeing, I remember the event. Yeah.
Anyway, the only reason I think it's a good thing to do, but I think it would be a really good idea at the same time as notifying the residents, notifying them as to the maintenance regime of the orchard, because it was an orchard before. The idea was to clear back trees that had actually self-set some saplings and things and whips, which had grown up exponentially until 2008, and actually had come, all of that area that's now open, only about 5 metres away from people's front doors, that was just thick brush, and it really did block out the light sort of houses, so people wanted it cut back, and then it got cut back rather enthusiastically by some rather candid contractors who cut down some fruit trees as well. We're now putting some fruit trees back, that's great, but I think what we want to demonstrate is that we're not going to leave it for 10 years this time to go to seed.
Julie, no, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. Number 6, improved access to Marquis Meadow. Part's been done, so that's complete. The chalk stream restoration, there's an extra paper on that, which everybody should have. Regrettably, it looks as though whilst one of these springs has been sorted out, the others are in a poor state due to, well, I suppose, 100-year-old pipes and whatever they do in them. So I guess that's just on the way, it's in progress. We just have to wait to see this consultant, Weatherhead's borehole specialist, to report back basically. So I don't think there's anything more to add to that, to the restoration plan, as far as the track is concerned.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, and forgive me if we've already been told yes or no on this, but chalk streams are something that's particularly close to my heart. There's a lot, obviously they're a very precious environment. Hertfordshire is home to a significant percentage of the world's chalk streams, but I'm sort of worried that this looks a bit sort of generalist, when actually we could, given the priority at the moment in the nation at large for protecting, preserving and restoring chalk streams, are we missing a trick with the Environment Agency and sources of funding? All of the reaches of the River Bure going through St Albans are subject to quite a lot of investment over the next couple of years from the Environment Agency and the water companies as well. Is there some kind of expertise and funding we could get from them?
I understand that an application has been made by the Bradford Springs volunteers for funding towards chalk stream restoration.
Okay. Would it not be a good idea to do it, sort of put our imprimatur on that as well? Because I don't mean to be nasty to the Environment Agency, but they're a big, unwieldy organisation, and it could quite easily be seen as, wrongly, we know how important they are and how big and committed they are, but it could well be that the civil servant somewhere else looking at that application is going to think, is that high on my priority? Some small community group, bunch of people from here. But if we actually put a covering letter in for them, with signed by the mayor or something, then that would probably help give it some oomph.
I'll pass that on to your volunteers. Yes, absolutely.
We'll take that up. Okay. That's it. The next 3 items are all complete. So they'll be removed from the tracker. Okay, the forward planner, which is a sort of a new device that we've introduced, and is typically what we do at the District Council Cabinet. It's just give an idea of what's coming up over the next few months. So that's just really for our information. Any comments on that? Pretty well everything that we've taken off the tracker, which is not related to this. Okay. In that case, let's move on to the next one, which is the allotment grant funding. So I suppose I think we are allowed to make statements before we leave. So if anybody wants to make a statement, I've got a couple of things I'd like to say. Councillor Chichester.
I think with the emphasis being put on things like the Food Smiles campaign, self-sufficiency, and encouraging people to think about where their food comes from, it's important that we support both of these organisations, and I would be very happy with the committee voting in favour of the recommendations.
Anybody else like to say anything?
Well, I can only speak for the South Harpenden Allotment and Garden Society, but they spend a lot of effort in terms of budgeting and managing the monies and looking after the sites with site representatives and everything. So I would just say that the requests that they put forward have been very carefully worked out and have some justification to them.
Yes, thank you. I'd just like to add that obviously I've taken part in some of the annual inspections this year and the allotment working party, not just from East Harpenden Club's point of view, but also South allotments as well. The committees do put in an awful lot of hard work, and I think these, obviously, they're very detailed reports we have here, and it just goes to show that the grant really does go towards providing the bare minimum almost, but the basics needed to run these clubs. It's not the fancy extras, it's really the nitty-gritty of running these clubs, and I think it should be truly supported.
Okay, my view is that the rent levels seem to be very, very low. And in fact, I don't know what they are for South Harpenden, but just reading the East Harpenden one, there's at the top line, rent increase by 6.7%, from £3 to £3.20 per year.
Per poll.
Per poll. Per year?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it depends how many, how big a area you have.
Yeah. And that does seem very, very low to me. I mean, that's basically one cup of coffee, isn't it?
Am I allowed to speak again? They're not meant to be debating this.
Okay.
Unless that's a direct question.
It's a direct question. It's clarity in order to make a decision.
All right.
Okay, thank you for allowing that. I'd just like to point out, obviously, if you read down through, the rent increase 2016 by 6.7%, rent increase February 2013 by 25%, 2012 by 9% after a grant cut. So I think you can appreciate that if you just suddenly say to all of your plot holders we're going to put up your rent by 100%, then it's a bit of a shock horror. We don't want to lose people from our sites, but I think I think this does show that we are actively trying to increase our rent. We're also thinking of bringing in other ways of having initial, as I still believe, initial non-refundable deposit, as it were, to help us finance clearing plots, paying for skips and things afterwards. So we are looking into other ways of increasing our revenue as well. But I don't think that the club could have done too much more. They have increased their rent over a very small period of time.
Sorry, could you ask me the question?
All right, I'll ask you another question. What's the rent?
Well, I do. Okay, first of all, so to sympathise with the East Harpenden Garden Society, where they're trying to increase the rents. Right, currently it's £5 a poll. Most of them are 5 polls, so it's £25 a year is the rent. And they're introducing, I'm not sure if we've already introduced it actually, a non-refundable deposit if you sign up for an allotment, because as Councillor Martin said, it covers the people who sort of don't really look after plots and then you have to clear it up afterwards.
£15.
Yeah, £50.
Right, so £5 per poll.
Yeah.
And what was yours again? £3.20. Oh, thanks for that clarification.
I think there is a question. We probably need to wait until people withdraw.
Here's a question.
Okay.
I maybe should know this. How many plots are vacant on each of them, and is there like a sort of plan to maybe fill them?
Okay, the percentage used is well over 90% on shags. It's I think it's around 98% actually. It's a very high percentage. Of course, some sites are oversubscribed and people on the waiting list, and they're encouraged to go to other sites.
Right.
But basically, it's around 98%.
Well, that's right. Yeah.
So from East, I can't tell you how many are next. I haven't got figures. What I do know is that with the committee's hard work over the last 2 years, we have increased the amount of plots let quite considerably.
Yeah.
However, East does have a lot less plots in total, so our ability to raise rent obviously is never going to be as high as in the south, because we have probably about a third of the amount of plots. So obviously the costs associated with running the site don't decrease, in such a great percentage, but we have actually got a lot less members to collect rent from.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thanks very much. I think we should withdraw now. Where should we go?
You can go that way. Lots of it. All of open.
All of it.
Yeah. Two calls. Okay, I'm not planning to change seats unless anybody wishes to stay here, take over the chair. I don't think it needs to take trouble. I'm happy that we do recommend this to go forward to P&F. I've got 2 comments. One, and I think I did touch on it, is that we'd like to see the allotment societies, both of them, and I know it's difficult, but to look to ways to become more financially sustainable. And although I hear what they say about putting up the rents, small amounts, I mean, 20p is neither here nor there, is it? I mean, I think I would like to see them being a little bit bolder in that. And just as a comment, not to stop it, but just to say, I just boggle at how much the maintenance. I don't pretend to know anything about machinery maintenance or providers thereof or amounts, but I did notice that it's gone up to £1,700. Well, if you say you've bought new equipment of £7,000, and saying it's just about 25% of that, I mean, that is astonishingly high.
Yeah.
So I don't know how they look at, but the maintenance costs are very high for South Harpenden as well, and whether that's an area that they can look at, because I don't know why this. Maybe that is the norm, but it just seems astonishingly high.
Yeah, the maintenance and also the insurance on both of the sites does seem quite high. I mean, I work in insurance, so I look at sort of similar figures to these. So maybe they could look at that as well, because I think East Harpenden here, insurance £700 for 2016-17, 2017-18 estimate. If we get it down to £900, I mean, there probably are insurance and machinery, and then they have liability, public liability, but I wouldn't have bought 700. I mean, maybe that's competitive, but I don't. It seems a bit steep. Maybe they could look.
They are covering 6 allotment sites, 215 plots. As you said, it's a public liability insurance on there. There's quite a lot of equipment.
There's quite a lot.
I suppose with the machinery.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not so much the insurance, and I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying that just seems to me the extremely high new service agreement, and the cost seems to be a lot of money and a lot of money to South Harpenden. I mean, maybe that is what the going rate is, but it just seems they're being charged an awful lot. If you say you've got equipment that's well, I mean, it probably covers other equipment as well, I can see, but it seems a very high percentage of the value.
Well, we don't know how many pieces of equipment have
we don't know how many are being dealt with.
Maintained,
but it's just a very big jump. Yes.
And it's nice to see that at least they are making provisions.
Well, it's important that, yes, but rather it's going to be what it costs, I'd rather that's what it costs, and keep the equipment well maintained.
Do they have to have, I know when we talk about grass cutting and other things, we always have like a list of contractors. Do they have to do that? Do they have to go through the process where they put
do a lot of their own maintenance? They have machines and what have you that they have.
That's why they have the machines.
They cut the grass.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And then the town council looks after things like the hedges and reviewing the hedges maintenance schedule at the moment, and undertaking some tree work too.
But it may be that there is nothing that can be done about the cost. I think and I'm sure that both societies look at these costs and see if they can get them down. But
it's worth reviewing and becoming more sustainable. But apart from that, I'm quite happy that this is I'm happy to recommend this to go forward.
Oh yeah, I mean it's also a good thing that car parking has got 98% take up of the plots.
Yes.
I mean that's very good.
And I think it is, well, apart from anything else, because we have a statutory duty to provide the allotments, and I think it does, and it's got a health and other benefits attached to it. So I'm happy to recommend that we put this forward.
Yeah.
Are you happy with that, Pat?
Yes, I'm happy with that.
Okay, so we'll recommend this goes forward.
Next. Right, recommend to PNS that the grants are approved.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to get the numbers.
I wouldn't mind on that one. Sounds like with the size in the field like hold up then. Cut the field, plant my crops.
You think you'll follow that?
Yeah. Well, I could do the field.
What did you decide?
We decided we recommended it to go forward to PNF. And just made comments as well that it can look at ways of making it financially a bit more sustainable, including, I hear what you say about the rent, but a 20p increase is not a lot, is it? So, and maybe absolutely nothing can do about it, and it's going rates. I have to say, the jump in the service, in the maintenance cost is pretty big. But I notice your south maintenance costs are very high as well. It may be there's nothing can be done about that. But
part of the reason it's the maintenance of machinery.
Yeah.
Ours has gone from having it done for free by a volunteer to not having that volunteering more. So it goes from nothing.
Let's get nothing to
commercial. We've had good discounts.
Okay, right, thank you very much. Right, let's move on to the next item, which is the French market. And moving to the recommendation, I know that we have, this has been going on for quite a while, hasn't it, the idea of the food and drink. I mean, certainly in my tenure as mayor, the food and drink Harpenden end was very poorly supported by local retailers. There are only 3 of them, which is pretty poor show. I don't know exactly why that was, but in contrast with Christmas, where there's quite a lot of support. So I think what Nicola decided to do was to try something different. So the idea was to have a French market similar to the one that are held fairly regularly in St Albans. And I see at the end, or somewhere on one of the trackers, you're looking at an Italian market as well as a possibility.
Yes.
I mean, generally anything that brings trade, footfall, trade, etc., into the high street is to be supported, I think, in principle. It's a good idea. So we agreed, or the committee agreed in January 2016 to hold the trial market. It seems to have gone down quite well. I don't know if any of you have had any feedback.
No. Well, I had mixed feedback. I mean, it's quite a bizarre thing. I was saying that you could buy white roses, and I'm saying, well, no, it's not actually, because it's different on certain things. The only comment I'd make about it, I mean, and I'm not clear from this, the report doesn't spell it out, but is it assuming that we'll continue to hold these fairs on the triangle, or are we looking at doing them on the high street? Because
on the triangle, as far as I know.
Yes.
As far as I'm aware,
Yes,
on the
it's
triangle.
going to be there. I mean, the day I went, it had quite a good footfall, but I think it's the sort of thing, isn't it, that probably picks up as people get to know more about it. The food stalls were quite good. The other ones, I think one doesn't necessarily want to live with, but that's rather up to the people arranging it if they want to come over and see if they make any money at it or not.
So who was next?
Well, I was personally very much in favour of the food and drink festival. I hear your concerns about the lack of retailers partaking in the actual festival itself, only 3 of them were there. The stalls that were there, though, did come from, some were down the road in Luton, others from other various places, and the festival itself was very well attended. It was huge. It was something I thought akin to the Classics on the Common, with the amount of people you had going through there. You had people from not just Harpenden attending as well. You had people from the villages, places like Whitwell, Kimpton.
Yeah. I can't go.
That's right. Places like Luton as well, coming into it. And I think the retailers didn't partake in it, that's true, but they certainly benefited from the day itself. Supermarkets were busy, restaurants were busy, Godfrey's was busy, and it generated a lot of footfall, so it was good for the town. The French market was a lot smaller, not as well. It was attended well, but nowhere near the food and drink festival level. So I did vote for it, rather than, because I wanted the food and drink festival, but I thought I'll vote for something rather than nothing. But I feel the food and drink festival was ambitious. We did get slated for it in the Hearts Advertiser, and I think if we wanted to be ambitious, then we would hold a food and drink festival again. The French market was fine. The cheese stall was very good. I got some good cheese there, and I don't think you'd be able to get that in Waitrose. But I just don't think it was as well attended, and a lot of people didn't know it was on either. I think going forward, I always think we should be open to a food and drink festival again. But going forward as well, I do like the idea of other themed markets in the town. Potentially a German Christmas market as well. That would be very good. I mean, we can make something really quite good out of this if we do hold markets going forward in the future. Sort of really advertise it. Say this season it's French market, or next season it's a German Christmas market, and I think that would be a good way, in my eyes, to make up for the fact that we're not doing a food and drink festival, which is very successful in St Albans. So yeah.
Okay. Just to comment on that, it is much bigger in St Albans. Of course, they've got a lot more space than us. The Christmas market, I do know, has been struggling a bit.
Yeah.
The portfolio holders struggling with it. That might be partly due to the location down by the cathedral, but
it's not on the main street.
it's one of those things. Who was next? Sorry.
It's just talking to Councillor Weaver on the phone about these things. He has got some suggestions to improve the French market, actually, so it'd be quite good if those were shared with people.
Okay.
I think Councillor Weaver told me that he also preferred the food and drink festival, and I remember I was there, actually, and the whole of Harpenden came to a standstill. I thought it was very good, but we overfilled the town. So I feel there's got to be some halfway house, nobody could even park at the food and drink festival. So I think that maybe Councillor Wheeler's got some good comments how to improve the French market, and maybe we take it from there, what the next steps would be.
Unfortunately, I haven't heard any positive comments. So the people that did seem to attend weren't very impressed, and other people just said they either didn't go because it didn't appeal to them, or because it was obviously on Friday, they were working, etc. So I haven't heard anything that would make me jump up wanting to put it on again. I think the recommendations for twice as well. I know it brings in £250 for the council, but I just think perhaps we should think about some other alternatives. And for instance, if the food and drink festival, we all know, was successful, the fact that the retailers didn't really want to get involved, perhaps that's something we could, because I know there were a few complaints from them that we didn't hold it again. Perhaps we could get some of the retailers who are interested on board and help us to, produce a good festival. But also I like the idea, if Councillor Weaver has ideas to improve the festival, I'd be happy to hear them, but at the moment from what I heard from the last one, I wouldn't.
How many people What was your sample of people?
About half a dozen people spoke to me about it. Wasn't well impressed. I mean, I drove past, and I must, because I was working on Friday, I wasn't impressed by what I could just see. You know, it looked a bit more like Iceland Fair.
Yeah.
You know, there was some very cool toys hanging up and things, so I didn't think it, you know, there weren't, I don't know, bunches of onions or garlic hanging there. You know, I kind of thought it would look a bit more French thing.
Well, but they were, but they're cunningly hidden.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I agree with Pip actually. I think in her defence, I would be, you could knock me down with a feather if Councillor Weaver's sample was any more than about 6 people, to be quite frank with you, and I would happily say that to his face. I think the issue here is that these organisations are things that both bring a benefit and amenity to the people of Harpenden, but bring a benefit, you know, bring economic sustainability, a bit of a shot of adrenaline to the local economy. I think that was the issue with the Food and Drink Festival, that it's all very well to have, you know, it's still Harpenden selling kebabs, you know, coming in from, and bits and pieces coming in from Luton or elsewhere, it doesn't matter where they're from. It's that actually it didn't seem to be about Harpenden businesses. And also, what I heard from lots of people was that food had run out by, you know, mid-afternoon, and that the town was still rammed full of people who weren't spending money in the shop, in local businesses, and local businesses weren't really opening up to take advantage of it so much. I think if it were a proper French market of the kind they regularly have in St Albans, which is cracking, that's a really good market. If it were a proper French market, that would be good. It's just these guys, it seems, they pay us 250 quid in return for being allowed to squat on the common and sell plastic stuff and things to people, and that doesn't really do us any good. And obviously we've got, you know, 3.3, you know, the levels of litter and things. You know, is it worth it? I do like the idea on a personal level of a German Christmas market, but again, I think they're actually even more susceptible to non-German, non-Christmas tat being sold. I think that is one of the issues with St Albans. You know, there are only so many Bratwurst and Glühwein stands that people actually need.
Yes, quite. I was going to say, because I think, you know, a food and drink festival is actually a distinct issue from having the markets. I agree with Daniel. And it's the French market the regular French market in St Albans is very good.
It is, yeah.
And I can see no reason why you couldn't have a really good, whether it's an Italian or a French. I think probably need to look at who is organising it, because actually there was a good cheese stall and there was a good charcuterie stall, but there were also a couple of stalls, and we thought, why have they come?
Yeah,
I mean,
who
who in a million years is going to be buying a plastic Tour de Fel from Harpenden? But and I also do, I mean, I can see that there would be a problem doing it in the street, perhaps because of, well, there are all sorts of issues, but I'm not particularly convinced in my own mind that if you're going to have food markets, I'm not very convinced in my own mind the Triangle's really the best place to put it. In fact, I don't think it's at all a good place to put it. I mean, you're effectively out of town. If you're going to do it, I think you need to find a better site.
Just to pick up on a few points. With regards to Rod's point about you weren't able to park anywhere, Harpenden was brought to a standstill. Harpenden was brought to a standstill for the classics on the common. You can't really park there at all. So I feel we don't mention you can't park anywhere in Harpenden on classics on the common day. We know it's very successful, but we mention it for the Food and Drink Festival, and I feel that's a bit unfair. One generally expects when there's a festival on in town, like maybe say the Carnival or the classics on the common, it's going to be very difficult getting around anyway. With regards to Councillor Miles' point about the fact that the food stalls ran out by about 3 o'clock, I know, I was there. I was one of the last few people to get some jerk chicken. But I do think, I've been waiting very patiently as well. But I do think that was a sign of how well it was attended by people and how successful it was in bringing people in. And the people that did attend didn't expect it to be that successful. They didn't expect there to be queues till 3:30, 4 o'clock. I think if we had it on again, they'd think it was really well attended last year. We ran out of food. Let's have more food. So I think it could be much more improved. And with regards to some of the stuff on the actual French market itself, I thought there were things that weren't particularly French. I think paella's a Spanish dish, but whatever. But I think also in terms of markets to consider going forward. We've got an Italian market. It would be very good if we could maybe consider Asian cuisine as well, pop-up food stalls, have a market with pop-up food stalls. They have them in Hatfield and they have them in St Albans. That would be good as well, broaden the palette, broaden the cuisine, so to speak. I think that would be a useful thing.
Not sure if Daniel was before, but I was going to say, just bringing it back, because
Yeah.
we're not actually talking about a food festival, and we are seriously going off track. Because we're actually talking, and I think, so sort of bring it back, because we need to think about whether we want potentially to have markets, which is not the same thing.
Yes, Dan?
I was just going to make the point, first of all, that we're discussing public expenditure. Classics in the Common does not cost the taxpayer money, Harry. The Food and Drink Festival did several £1,000s. But on this, we're talking about money coming into us. I think, quite frankly, whereas thousands of pounds is something we need to be aware of, and we need to exploit sources of income. 250 a day is derisory for the grief it causes and for where it is. Perhaps maybe some kind of continental market where we could have, we could be more discerning with the actual choice of stallholder, and we could have a combination of different European nations or something, Euro food market or something. That would be better than just having a French market that was sort of, 25% charcuterie and boulangerie and 75% plastic.
Okay.
Yes, I was going to say, Chair, if I may, that I would have thought that somewhere we sort of need to play around with the recommendation a bit, because I think more work needs to be done on this, because I think there is potential there for continental food markets, but I think we need to
experiment.
And we need to experiment, but I think some thought needs to go into things like location, who we use, because yes, you're quite right. If you use somebody who's going to pay you 250 quid, it speaks volumes.
Yes. Okay, so where are we in terms of the recommendation?
Can I propose an alternative recommendation? And that's that, based upon what Councillor Farmer said, that officers investigate an alternative market provider or providers. It could be joint providers, it doesn't have to be one company like this. But as part of that, they approach their counterparts at St Albans District Council to find out if they can get hold of the contact details of the stallholder for the French market in St Albans, because it may well be that the kind of stalls we like, just the Harpenden is too small, there is that to be faced. St Albans has considerably higher footfall than us during the week.
I agree with that. I don't think we should be rushing into a decision at this stage for what we're going to hold. I think Councillor Chichester-Marsden's point about asking St Albans changing a recommendation is a valid one. I think we should do that.
Okay.
I would just like to say that obviously you can't sniff at £250, but for having bad reviews in the press, having residents unhappy and thinking you spent more than that on putting on an event, I'd rather not have £250 put on to a very poor event. I agree that we should look into the different providers.
That's right. I'm happy with the alternative proposal as well. I think the board agreed that we need something better than it was.
But potentially like the idea.
Yes, but yeah.
Okay, all right. Right, so need to vote on that then. Yeah. All right. So Dan, do you want to
Repeat it.
repeat it?
Right. The officers investigate alternative providers or conglomerations of providers for the production of a market that could be more than multinational, doesn't have to be French or German, could be a collection of EU member states, I don't know. That as part of that, they liaise with their counterparts at St Albans District to see if they could provide contact details or advice.
Right, all in favour of the proposition?
And report to a future meeting.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Next one, budgetary control. I think the main points about this are the proposed expenditure. 3.2, which we've agreed. There's going to be a slight increase in our budget, isn't there?
Yes, because of the release of funds from the enlarged reserve.
Yes, absolutely. We've also received the Section 106 money, I think it's under 3.6,
Yes.
which is important. But essentially we've got the full year budget here and various expenditures. Does anybody have any comments on
Well,
this?
it was more of a question, because I might be missing. I just wondered why there was reduced income from the car park.
I was going to say that, yeah.
Because the machine got
Oh, was it to do with the, because of the machine?
and it
Yes.
went out of order for 6.
I knew there must be. I knew there must be a sensible reason.
Yeah.
Yes.
That really is bad, isn't it?
Yes.
6 weeks
Yes.
to get those.
It was a complete new machine, they couldn't repair it, that's why it took 6 weeks to replace it.
Okay.
Still paid by the bank.
I know
£6 worth, yeah.
I know there are problems with these in St Albans as well, aren't
Yes,
they?
there are,
Regularly
yes.
get broken into.
Can I go on to talk about potential growth items yet? We're going to do that.
Yes, or are we, is that the next,
Not yet, from the other.
is that the next report?
That's the next report.
It's the next report. Hold on to the next one.
Hold on to it.
Any comments on this?
May I just say, whilst there is an underspend on the on Appendix 1, which is obviously the budget and expenditure up until the 30th of September, if members then look at Appendix 2, you'll notice that by the time the planned work has been undertaken in various areas, like, for example, ground common works and tree works and things like that, we will be more or less spot on with the budget
Yeah.
for 2016-17.
Thank you. Just give people a couple of minutes to browse through the detail. Yes,
Now that the Westfield area's recreation has been built, just following on, there'll be no more expenditure on that, presumably, once all the equipment's built. From the trim trail and the football area and the fenced-in play area. So all that building taking place now.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's no
I mean,
more money.
you'd expect some maintenance,
Yes, some
expenditure
maintenance,
at some point.
Yes.
in the future.
Unless it gets vandalised.
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Councillor Chichester Miles.
I will give way actually to Councillor Martin because I had some comments on potential growth items that I believe she...
Cover that under the next statement.
Oh, sorry, I've not moved on. Maybe it's a mistake. Jumping at the bit here.
Yes, we're all
Yeah, I
travelling.
think it's
We're all waiting.
No,
Yes, we're trying to get to the meat and potatoes. Yes.
Okay. Right, so can we move to the recommendation 2.1? It's recommended that the report be noted and approved.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Right. Okay, now into the heavy stuff. Environment budget for 2017-18. People want to say something about the growth item?
Yes, please.
Please.
Also, I just wanted to ask about the new council vehicle. Obviously, just general observations really, with obviously looking at more vehicles? Have we only got one employee that would be driving it at any one time? I know it says that other members of staff could use it, but if we've only got one driver in the maintenance team, I don't necessarily feel the cost of running two vehicles outweigh, and possibly, you know, if one breaks down, then you can use the other. So I don't necessarily think that that's a good idea. So I wanted a bit of clarification on who would possibly be driving the other vehicle.
We have 2 members of staff in the maintenance team.
Both.
Yes, good. Yes. And also the proposal that's going, that was agreed by Human Resources for a Commons and Commons Education Officer. The proposal is that if she needed to go out and do some outreach work out of the common or possibly go to school and things like that, then she could use the company vehicle as well.
Comment. I know this isn't a budget issue, but I'm just going to raise it. We're going to have 2 vehicles. Are they going to be kept down there because we're getting less and less and less space to park anywhere?
Oh, yeah.
I think once the depot is completed,
then they can be kept.
Then I think they'll be kept.
They're kept up there. Good.
Go ahead.
I have comments on 641, 644 and 645. On 641, I personally would be in favour of striking this in the budget, not least as we're looking at added strain upon the precept in this coming financial year. The reason for this is because whilst I'm not against having permissive horse ride in general, it was not so many years ago, in fact I think Councillor Kent will remember, that we agreed to an entire new resurfacing project of this because it had got into exactly this state. But I do wonder, is this just throwing good money after bad until we actually fix in a more sensible way, you know, with mole ploughs and proper drainage gullies, fix the drainage issue? Because what happens is the area gets waterlogged, the horses use it, and in fact actually not that many use it, but it gets used, it then gets waterlogged, it's totally untraversable by any pedestrian, anybody else using the common. It's probably pretty unpleasant for anybody riding a horse as well, and not many people benefit from it. And I think this sort of connects to 644 because we are looking at we're at a time where lots of our play areas across the town, whether they're in town or district hands, need to be replaced, they need to be rejuvenated. We're not swimming in pots of money for this kind of project. And I do wonder, you know, out of all the things we could be doing on the common, is it really justifiable to do this when we're probably going to have to spend another 14,000 doing exactly the same thing in 3 years' time? Because weather is weather. We can't future-proof against that without draining first. So that was 6.
Yeah.
It was actually when Councillor Farmers was mayor that the permissive, the horse ride was actually resurfaced, not the whole of the horse ride, it was just various sections that
small section
needed to be repaired.
Condition.
Obviously priority had to be given over to the bits that were at most need of repair, and other areas didn't get repaired, and it's those other areas that will be targeted as part of the repairing programme. If the horse riders are not able to use the horse ride, then they tend to wander all over the common or the golf course. It is, you're quite right, perhaps we should do a census of who actually uses the horse ride. There are some horse riders on the common. In fact, it got its annual stream back the other day, and maintenance officers reported to me that several horse riders had come up and said, thank you very much for cutting back the foliage, it's making our lives a bit easier. It's also used by runners and dog walkers in the summertime when it's very hot and it's a very nice shaded area. And the areas where it has been resurfaced are standing up very well.
Okay, if I may, I'm aware of all of this, but my argument is that I'm still, I'm not saying you are wrong for putting this in there. I'm not saying permissive horse ride is wrong. I made that very clear. I do feel a little bit like, there's the sort of, I'm being accused of criticising the officers here, and I'm not. It's a perfectly reasonable thing to put in the growth items. It's just that when we are saying no, we can't repair other things that are used by considerably more people. For me, it's just a simple utilitarian equation. I know runners use it, but runners can use lots of other places. I know horse riders use it, they can use lots of other places. I have no problem with either of those constituencies using the common, but where we are looking at an issue where actually, I'll be honest, I don't think a lot of those areas are holding up very well. I think when it is very rainy weather, I think the elderly, I think it doesn't matter what your age actually is, I think people don't like to use those areas because they are waterlogged. And until we have a proper drainage system there, I don't think we, you're looking at, it's like, I don't know, retiling a bathroom, that actually, you know that the reason why you've had to retile it is because tiles keep falling off. Actually, the tiles keep falling off because it's not damp caused properly. Damp cause it first, then retile it, if you follow my obscure analogy. But, if people disagree with me, they're free to, but I just would rather, at this stage, defer that 14,000, because I'd rather have a new set of swings and a slide somewhere than some more wood chip or whatever it is we put down for the horse ride.
Sorry, can I just clarify something? Because I understand Councillor but if these, are we at a point where if this isn't done, then the basic horse riding track can't be used? Do you know what I mean? Because basically some sections will be so bad that you may not be able to go around the whole track. Is that essentially the summary? So if we don't spend £14,000, then essentially that whole track will be unusable for horse riders.
And others.
To be honest, I do agree with Councillor Chichester-Miles. To me, this seems a bit like filling potholes instead of resurfacing a road. We're making good small areas, which in the long run isn't necessarily cost effective. So I agree, perhaps we should actually look into sorting out if there is a drainage problem, rather than, I don't know how urgent this is, whether it can be deferred, and we look at actually having a proper look at this rather than doing it piecemeal over a few years.
I was going to say, it's been a problem for years on the horse riding services, and they do get very muddy. I understand, but I think you're right. But I suppose the question is, I have no idea how much it costs or what needs to be done with the drainage. But yes, there is an argument. If you're going to have a budget, some money, should that be used, or some of it to look at actually doing using money initially on the drainage issue?
I agree with Councillor Chichester-Miles. I see it precisely as a utilitarian thing. I do see some horses ride on the common, not that many. I see more children using play areas and play equipment. I would also say with runners, if they're going to be running off-road anyway, they know they could get muddy and could get wet. So, I mean, I run cross-country. It's a given. If you run off-road, you're going to get a bit muddy. If they don't want to run on the common, then they can run on the road, and they won't get muddy there. They might still get wet, run through a puddle. So I think we could defer this and maybe look into drainage for the surfacing.
That's probably going to be quite expensive, isn't it, drainage? But still, okay.
Well,
Any
so
other?
can
Yeah,
I just propose
yeah,
then that a number of options are looked into for this, so then brought back to review? Because I think that I could see the sense if horse riders, and I think there are a number of them, will just go all over the common.
Yeah.
If
Can't
there's no
discriminate
track.
against them just because there are fewer than people.
All right. Noted. What about the others? We finished on those?
Obviously that linked in with the play area, just I think that maybe, we need to be thinking about putting more money into that, because, declaring a non-financial interest with my district council platform, I know there are district council play areas dotted around the town that, again, it will be probably necessary for the town council to chip in to make those the kind of play areas that people would want. So, is 10,000 a bit derisory, considering that we've probably got a bit more cash for that kind of project swimming around than the district? Verge maintenance, though, I'm afraid I'm far more concerned about. I don't even understand why this is here, to be honest, because we've had quite a long debate about this before. I'm actually meeting with the leader of Hertfordshire County Council, with Councillor Julian Daly, tomorrow, and the Highways portfolio holder. And I will say now, and I will say it to the man's face, I think it's absolutely disgusting the way our verges have grown into a state of just complete disrepair. We're seeing weeds destroying pavements and growing up from curbstones and traffic islands, and it's simply because of a total failure in contract management and monitoring on the part of the leadership of the County Council, and that's political and financial mismanagement and miscalculation that they need to be accountable for. What they are trying to do with town councils like ours across the county is think, where can we offload a bit of stress, something that we've already charged the taxpayer for, something that we have already tendered for and still not managed to do. This is double taxation. I cannot put into words how much I object to this. And what will happen if we do this is we will get the money 1 year, and then the county council will probably attempt to do exactly what they did to the district council, which is just stop paying and hope we don't notice. Not good enough. I want to see this completely struck off.
I'd just like to reiterate my notes. I've put double taxation. I'm totally opposed to this. I agree. I don't know how.
I think we've looked at verges, haven't we, recently?
I
decided that it wasn't practical for us to do it because we'd have to buy a load of equipment.
Yes, the clerk asked me to undertake an exercise, a desktop exercise for working out how much it would cost to do the job ourselves, as opposed to adding into a contract. I can't really comment any further because I would draw members' attention to the last line. I do understand that the town clerk is presenting a report to the next full council meeting on the 28th of November regarding this item.
Yes, because I was just going to say, I mean, I've got a concern that you're effectively almost taking on an open-end commitment, aren't you? No idea what it's going to cost you in future years, because you're quite right. You'll find that they'll get less and less paid for, and you can see that eventually it'll move towards we're expected to take over the entire cost.
Sort of mission creep, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I'd like to agree with Councillor Chichester-Miles. At the moment, the verge maintenance is shocking. It's one of the regular emails I get from some constituents saying, oh, it's overgrown constantly, this verge here, this verge here.
Third world?
Well, I haven't used the language of third world, but they have said it's not good enough. So I just think they need to get this sorted out because we're being shortchanged and there's a lot of residents that I'm not very happy with it.
The other thing is that there is a letter of understanding already in place between the town council and the highways that allows us to do much smaller bespoke pieces of work that they agree to pay for on an item-by-item basis. So, for instance, we're seeing the fruits of that already. In fact, we were the first town council in Hertfordshire. Other town councils chose not to. They're now following our lead. We're being seen as a sort of exemplar of the way to work on that, with cleaning signs and things. The footpath, for instance, between Beason End Lane and across sort of past Maple Cottages. That was overgrown, we've trimmed that back. So those smaller jobs we already can do, we have that flexibility. I think doing this, as Councillor Farmer says, is just taking on an open-ended commitment. The reason I think we need to take action on this evening is this is put down as a proposed growth item in our budget. It is our responsibility before this reaches the floor of full council to make it clear what this committee feels. And I'm formally proposing that we remove this 25,000. No amendment, just go on.
Well, you seconded, so I didn't second it, I'll support it.
Can I just clarify something? If we don't pay this 25,000, then are they going to do something about the weeds growing up in verges and pavements?
I don't know.
Yeah.
We might. Will you be reporting back to us on your meeting?
I'm happy to informally.
Informally, okay. Be interested.
As it is, it's not, public meeting as such, a meeting between relevant portfolio holders. So the clarification for Councillor Cooley's point, this is irrelevant to what the County Council's legal and contractual responsibilities are, or their contractor has been contracted to do this. Basically what's happened is they have not treated the weeds. I've heard of 2 members of the County Council who have been telling members of the public and members of this council that it's because the district don't treat them. The district's job across the county, and the boroughs indeed, is not to do this. It is not our responsibility. Paragraph 3 of the Highways Act makes it very clear, and the public, the County Council precept for, and the public is taxed accordingly.
That's the point. So tax.
I've been advised by the County Council that they don't have a budget for it this year, and hopefully it will be done next year. So I'm sure the taxpayers actually paid for it, but
If we benchmark other councils around Bedfordshire County Council, etc., they don't seem to have a similar problem. So what is it that we're doing differently that they
Have that for sure. I don't know.
Unitary authority.
should Harpenden Town Council be lobbying the County Council on this, or is it such a noted subject?
Potentially, yes. I think it's
Especially
probably...
when it's in our budget.
Yeah, well, at the moment it's in our budget, but we've just proposed to remove it.
The fact that it's got to that stage, that
Yeah.
it's in our budget, perhaps we should be doing some
Lobbying.
stronger.
Yeah, I think so.
Shall I change the subject?
Yeah.
Okay.
Got another one?
Yeah, just about the Play Area Development Fund.
Mhm.
It says the 10,000, I'm assuming this means it's an initial 10,000 because there's a need to create an ongoing budget. So does that basically mean that we'll be increasing the recreation grounds and play area general budget by 10,000 per annum?
The idea is that the first year's worth of development fund will go towards Marquis Lane Play Area refurbishment.
Oh right, so it's not that, sorry, because I was just assuming that meant that it was going to cost £10,000 to just assess the site. But that's actually to do the work, yes, to keep them, yes. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, what we're doing is basically setting budgets. That doesn't mean necessarily we spend all of it.
No, I was just querying whether that wouldn't already be in some sort of earmark reserve from the council.
We do have a small earmarked reserve, but it's not sufficient in order to build up a big enough reserve to refurbish all of the area. So the idea is if we go around play areas and identify pieces of equipment that need upgrading on a regular basis.
I think we have more play areas than people often realise,
Yeah.
and most of them need upgrading.
This is a question for Councillor Cooley. He might know a little bit more, having done your work with the Oakley Road and the Parva Road, Parva Close play areas. It was very expensive to get Oakley Road all the stuff done. Do you feel that we've got enough reserves for the recreation play areas on here? Someone you know all about it, and probably
roughly
anyone else.
£53,000.
Let's build something.
In fact, I was about to ask a question about whether the £10,000 includes Oakley Road if we transfer over.
When it's transferred over, yes.
But,
Well, this is a maintenance budget.
it's a maintenance budget.
Not a
that's right.
capital budget.
Exactly, it's a maintenance budget, yes. But, well, the problem is I'm now speaking as a spork member, okay.
Oh yeah.
But we could, I don't know if there'd be a conflict of interest, but basically we're going to obtain the funding to build the Harbour Close place. So in answer to your question, I'm not sure what I can fully answer it. But
Yeah, sure.
Whether
Sure.
new,
District area.
yeah, and totally new play equipment and new play areas are very expensive, and you're not going to do it out of an ongoing budget. You have to look. You've got to do a combination of fundraising, look to see if they want 106 monies. You can't do it just out of an ongoing.
Yeah.
But once you've done it,
Once you've done it,
require much maintenance.
no, it should just
Quite a lot.
yeah.
Can I just ask for clarification about the current budget, which is over 31,000? What does that cover really? I assume it's not the...
The current one was because we put money aside for the Westfield. That's why it's 31,000.
Oh, I see. So do we have an sort of average annual, what's the usual sort of budget we put aside for just the general maintenance?
Couldn't answer that off the top of my head.
Because I assume we've always had that in our budget, general maintenance.
General maintenance, yes.
I just think 10,000 sounds a lot for just for, unless it is for basically earmarked reserves that we know we're going to, for instance, address Markford Lane next year and then maybe something south the year after and whatever. That's just in 41 just for the actual maintenance of all of that seems quite high. Well, if it's 10,000 extra a year, 31 this year.
No, it's because that sum there for play areas includes the Westfield. Which appendix are you looking at?
Obviously the wrong one.
No.
I thought we had sort of the 40,000. I thought was set aside separately for Westfield.
No, it's got included in there.
So we have no budget. That's what I don't understand. If we're spending 40,000 on Westfield,
Are you looking at Appendix 1 now?
no, 2. I'm just confused that we're spending 40,000 on Westfield, and that's in.
I'd have to get more clarification on that. I couldn't.
Yeah. So I'm just what I'm saying is I'm just not sure how much annually we're putting aside. Obviously I was thinking Westfield was separate to this recreation grounds and play area here because the capital is listed. You can on page 26.
Yes, capital is listed on appendix 2. Yeah, 40,000.
So it looks like we spent over 31,000.
I'd have to provide you with a bit more.
I mean, you know, I'm not, being strange. I'm just, it just sounds like an awful lot of money to me. But add another 10,000 to that.
Which is just the miles.
I'm sorry, I'm just trying to make sort of sense of, sort of pull back to what we're being asked to agree and whatnot. I think where it says earmarked reserves, that's quite clear that we are safe to sort of hang fire on that.
Yeah.
Those debates on the things like that, that's fine. The problem we've got with the Play Area Development Fund and the verge maintenance management is there are proposed precept increases. We need to act on them with a vote. I'm happy to keep the Play Area Development Fund in there for myself, though I understand the points that Councillor Martin made. I would like to vote before we sort of forget on EN5, which is that is removed, so that our recommendation, if we amended it as such, would be £54,000, both items totaling 54 in Appendix 2.
Page 39.
Yeah, so 39.
39.
You've got, it tells you what proposed funding is. So earmarked reserves is one thing, because you're not doing any damage, so to speak. But anything where it says precept increase, that's a sort of live wire. That would be the most sensible thing to do.
So,
Any more questions before we vote?
any other points?
Just a comment that I'm absolutely amazed you have to pay rates on public laboratories, but there you go.
You do, yeah.
That's like
Yeah, I think we're quite, if we're going to
I did look at that as well.
I think EN1, I think we're going to get some more information before.
Yeah,
we vote on this.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's further.
Yes.
Right, so there's no need to vote on it.
Could I ask that we have some more information on the play area budget as well then, please, see how much we're actually spending
What,
each
3
year?
and 4?
Yeah, for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's a precept increase we're proposing, does that mean if we're asking for more information we have to remove it though? This is the point I was making.
It could go back in.
Okay.
Yeah.
But do we have time within the budget cycle to do that? I don't think we do, because this goes to the next Policy and Finance Committee and then it goes to...
No, you won't be able to do it, but next meeting's March. Oh no, January, the Environment Committee, so no, it
Yeah,
won't
that's
happen.
what I mean, that we have, actually we do have to act on this tonight. I don't believe we do have the manoeuvre within the calendar to defer as such.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I mean, worst case, you vote for it, we vote for it,
Yeah.
and amend
Look
it
at it again.
at a later
Yeah.
stage.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to do anything with
It's
it.
a budget.
Because
You
it's
know,
budget, you don't have to spend the
Not
money.
set in
Yeah.
stone.
You have to spend it.
Yeah.
If I may raise a point, it says initial years contribute towards Markery Lane, because so someone's identified a need in Markery Lane that needs to be done.
Okay.
Yeah, something else, yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to you, fantastic pirate ship.
Yeah. Keep that.
Okay.
Ace.
You're not alone.
All right, so, town EN2, can we vote on that one now? All in favour of EN2?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So EN1 is not to progress at the moment.
What's that?
Deferred.
It's deferred.
To obtain more information
Yeah.
of options.
Okay.
Okay. Right, EN3, you're in favour of that one?
Yes.
Thank you.
Abstain.
Unanimous except for one abstention. The Play Area Development Fund, that's EN4. Favour of that one? That one was unanimous, thank you. So we're not going to do EN5. Right, that's
No, we haven't
agreed.
voted yet.
Sorry?
We haven't voted yet.
No, I thought the climate of the meeting.
Our views have been made.
How?
So what do we do with that? Do we just defer or decline
Just
it?
vote again.
Do they like it?
Yeah.
Vote
Okay.
down.
So we vote to decline EN5? Okay. And what about EN6?
No.
I think that's
Okay.
needed.
That's good.
Yes, we need
Okay.
that.
All in favour of that one?
Yeah.
Right. So that was unanimous as well. Okay. Thank you. So what do people think about 5.3 on page 29? Now do we own Larder?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
We own it.
It's transferred over to us,
Yes,
district
well,
council.
we bought it.
I thought I remembered.
Yeah.
I don't understand this 60% formula.
Yeah, I'm confused with that.
You know, why won't we charge 100%?
I think that it's because it's a little bit off the beaten track, and the business case that was originally put forward when it was transferred over and agreed to do this was that where people might want to park for longer than the short stay scheme in the middle of the high street, if they can actually find limited space, you know, they could park there, and though they would have to pay for it, they would have the peace of mind. So we have a selling point, which is it's cheaper than a district council car park, but it does bring us income, and you know, it's a balance. But certainly undercutting the district council prices here, I think, has been key to that car park success, because otherwise a lot of people probably wouldn't want to drive around there.
It's also free on Saturday and Sunday to encourage shoppers.
What about 70%?
I was just going to say, do we know how well used it is?
Well, Saturday morning at 9 o'clock it was a third full, but I have seen it full on a Saturday
Yeah.
lunchtime.
I go down, because I quite often use Lidecker, and it gets, at the week, certainly on a Saturday, it gets pretty busy in there.
I'll just raise a point. I think that during the week, its occupancy is about the same as every other car park. So if you take the occupancy percentage of spaces which are used, it's similar.
No, it's not actually, Rod, it's much easier to park in Lidecker, except for certain times. I use it a lot, and you can frequently get in it when you won't get in anywhere else in the town. It varies.
So that encourages people to use that instead of filling up, trying to get in. Yeah, perfect.
I mean, sometimes in the mornings it can be full, but I've gone on in the afternoon and I've got parked in there quite easily. It's not quite as busy as the other ones.
Okay. No. Done.
Given that SADC is actually quite expensive to park with them, with their contractor, I think the whole idea of the town council having a car park of our own is that it's an extra amenity. So I would have, considering we haven't been charging the fees very long, I would personally prefer to keep it at 60%. We can always review that next year.
I have a slightly unrelated sort of question regarding this. The machine we've got for payment in there, does it accept cards?
I don't understand it doesn't, no, but you can pay by phone.
Oh, okay, yes. Would we want to look at maybe getting a machine where you can pay by card? Because most car parks these days do, or would that be more expensive?
We've just replaced it, so no.
No, oh, okay, all right. But if you can pay by phone, then that's a technological way of doing it, so it's okay.
And it's also, if you go to do it there, you'd have to do it across all the car parks. You wouldn't just do one. You wouldn't just do the machine in Lidecker.
But you can already park on Barrels Way with a card, and pay with a card.
Yeah.
I think we ought to review that next year.
Yeah. I'll just raise a point.
Yeah.
Since we have talked about being so strapped for cash, I just wonder whether the proposal of going up to 70% of the parking fee would be some reasonable thing to do.
We can vote on it, Mr. Chairman.
Possibly. Does the machine, how easy is it to reprogram the machine?
That would be a new machine because you'd have to physically have a card slot and a card reader in it. I understand that.
Yeah, but if we went to 70%, if we wanted to increase the fee.
Oh, the actual increase
I
of
don't
fee.
know, £2 to £3 or something.
No,
Can you program
yeah.
it? So, okay, so we need to put in a machine. Okay.
There seems to be a certain amount of navel gazing going on here. Can I propose that we move to a vote to remain at 60%, and if 70% wins, then we'll go with 70%.
So you do one vote for 60% and one vote for 70%.
No, you do one vote and it depends on the outcome of the first vote, doesn't it?
Well,
Yeah.
well, why don't we go for 60% this year, but look at it next year?
Happy.
Everybody okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, that's unanimous. Okay.
Because the district council will have put up their pricing
Anyway,
anyway next year.
index linked.
So is there anything else we need to do here? We've voted on various growth items, haven't we? So we've covered 2.1.2. Does that mean the base budget has to be reduced by the amount of...
That has been removed, yes.
So the base budget's going to have to come down because of the items that we've deferred or reduced. So what does that bring it down to?
265,460, I believe. I might got that wrong. Might be 260.
And deferred 20...
266.
266.
You've deferred 20 and taken out 20. have a think now.
200 and... Yeah, 261.
Right. Now, the impact of that is we won't be able to increase this, will we? Or we will, if we change our mind. Or if other items come in.
We can, because one item is an earmarked reserve.
So, alright, so we go for, so in 2.1.1, the base budget, so we get 261,460,000. Set out as Appendix 1 with the art amendment, included in the council's budget for 2017-2018. Yes?
Yes.
All in favour?
Yeah.
Right, thank you very much.
Can I make a small flippant remark?
Yeah.
We get a plumber in it. We're going to radius as we've had the
radius taken out.
I just wanted to make we've covered all the former agenda items.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for putting up with me, the lobby at this meeting, and indeed many other meetings, particularly packed for the longest. This month I actually can be. This month I actually marked 10 years as town councillor. So this meeting. So I was going to adjourn to a public house, and if any member of the committee and indeed anyone wanted to join me, they're very welcome.
Right, thank you. I will certainly take you up on that. Well, some of us will. Okay, and I think that brings us to the end, isn't it? There's nothing else to exempt, etc. Close at 8:56.